Right, well, I'm delighted to say we've got Ian again for one of his regular updates. This one's a bit special, isn't it, Ian? Because we're doing it on Monday evening, and there's some news coming out tomorrow about one of our players at Doug Farm. Do you want to tell us the ins and outs of what's happened today in respect of Doug's move?
Yeah, sure. Well, it's actually not today. It's been the last couple of days because I know Liam hasn't been off the phone um, one way or another. But Doug has obviously got his move to Blackpool, which has been it's been coming because to be fair, there's been a lot of interest in Doug over the last couple of months now. Everyone can see the quality that Doug has, and he fits all the criteria for a player who is. We always knew he was going to move quickly up the ranks. He's very switched on. Everyone can see the attributes that he has in relation to an attacking weapon as well as defensively. And he was always going to kind of be on the radar for clubs higher up the pyramid. The Liam and I had to balance that because he is so effective a player for ourselves, but also he's a really important part of the squad. He's a very popular player in the dressing room. He's popular with the fans, so we had to get the balance right. So, as well as him kind of attracting lots of interest, Liam and I had to manage making sure that it was right for Southport. And we decided that obviously we would kind of encourage interest, particularly from any clubs who would be prepared to loan Doug back to us for the rest of the season, in light of where we are at present, how we are pushing, obviously to stay in the playoff and hopefully, further on.
Yeah.
Doug was not a player that we wanted to lose. And Doug obviously has got time on his side. If you compare Doug to say Marcus, no disrespect to Marcus, but you won't mind me saying, he was cracking on
Yeah.
in football terms.
Yeah.
And it was a fantastic opportunity for Marcus. As I say, Doug's slightly different because there was a lot of interest. There was a lot of clubs looking at him. And he is young. He's got other priorities as well. I think this is his last year of his university degree.
Yes, yeah.
So he's balancing quite a lot himself. So it had to be the right move for the club, for Doug, and obviously for Blackpool. We spent a lot of time talking to Blackpool. Liam has spent a lot of time with their CEO, Ben Mansford. I know John Stevenson was down at our game on Saturday. So they've had a good look at Doug, and we've come up with a deal which suits all parties. And we get the benefit of Doug for the rest of the season while we're pushing to stay in the playoffs and beyond. And obviously Doug gets his move to a championship club, which, is not to be sniffed at by anyone.
You can't stand in the way, can you? I know where I sit, there's been scouts sat around me for the last few games. There's been lots of them as well, Ian, hasn't there? Just watching him and maybe another couple of players, but certainly Doug.
Well, this again is why, Liam and I have said from day one that we wanted to build a squad that was young, athletic, and able to stay together and continue with the club as and when we get promoted. And I think the amount of scouts that are at each game shows that we're going in the right direction. The performances and where we are in the league shows that we're going in the right direction. And it's a big hats off as well to Liam and to the scouting team that he has, particularly Tommy Lawton, because obviously he's going out and spotting these players. He's spotting the Dougs, he's spotting the Josh Amamis, bringing them in. Connor before that, and it's it's Liam's job to knit that all together, which he's obviously doing really well.
Yeah.
But again, we've said before, a big part of that is that these players are coming to us because they are confident in our ability to get them moved up the pyramid.
Yeah.
But again, it's a complete balancing act in doing that, with making sure it's the right deal for the club. And this one for Doug, is perfect. It's perfect for him because he can finish his degree, and it's perfect for the club because we maintain his services whilst we're out pushing on towards the end of the season.
Did that take some doing to find a club that was going to allow him to stay with us for the end of the season?
Probably, in the sense that we made that clear from day one to kind of anyone who was interested. That we weren't going to let Doug go lightly, and B, if there was that ability to loan him back, then we would do everything that we could from our end to kind of push Doug in that direction.
Yeah.
It just so happened that Blackpool were the ones who came in with an offer, and they were obviously the ones who had listened to us, and we could talk to, and we're prepared to make that happen.
Yeah, good. Okay. Well, we'll try and catch up with Doug maybe tomorrow at Kettering with a bit of luck and grab a few words with him just to see how he's feeling about it all, which will be nice. So we'll try and get that done. Busy week last week, Ian. I think poor old Mark was having kittens at one stage with the amount of contract extensions we put together. Well, certainly last week and the week before, we've been doing it. That is absolutely fantastic. I think I was looking at my list before. I think we've got 10 players now. And Liam hastens to add that you must always include Tony Macmillan in that because he's his lifer, as he calls him. So, but it's brilliant, isn't it, to think at this stage, we're just about to start February, and we have got 10 players at least till 23, but most of them are till 24. That is great news, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's something that we spoke a lot in the summer about wanting to put together and keep the squad, which we thought would have the legs on it to run for as long as it took to get us where we want to be.
Yeah.
I've probably said in interviews before that Liam and I have talked about and looked at the likes of Chorley, who, they did get brilliantly 3 or 4 years ago to get promotion to the National League. And they did that on the back of a squad that they'd kept together for, 4, 5, 6 years. The difficulty they had when they went up was obviously that was quite an aging squad by that stage.
Yeah.
And, they got found out. They didn't have the legs to compete against the clubs in the National League. We intentionally looked and spoke a lot with Tommy about finding players who we thought would have the ability to make that step up. And the key part of that was finding players who could make the step up, but also who we thought we could keep with us as part of that squad to enable it to grow. We always knew that we would lose 2 or 3 along the way. But whilst you've got the mainstay there, your spine of the team, as it were, you look at, I say, young players, but, you look at the likes of Charlie Oliver, who's got experience playing with Manchester City.
Yeah.
You look at Jack, who's been at Sunderland and Everton. They've got that experience. They're the kind of older heads, as it were, of the team now. And that goes right down the spine. You've got Cam, who's, he's been around. You've got Jordan, obviously, who's played higher up the pyramid. And if we can build around that, that was the plan. And the last thing we wanted was to be kind of putting that team together. And then every April, May, they all off elsewhere and you've got to start again.
Yeah, I think it's testament to the work that Tommy and Liam do, isn't it? Because a couple of those players have stepped up quite a level, particularly with, I'm talking about Charlie Monroe and Josh Amami, and they've been absolute, and poor old Josh has got the injury now, but Charlie Monroe, I just think I'm a big Charlie fan. I think he's been absolutely brilliant, but he's made that step up, and that is good to see these players making that step up, isn't it?
Yeah, and it is testament to the amount of work that Liam and Tommy do. Whenever I speak to Liam at the moment, he's off at a game with Terry Mack. We all know kind of Tommy is here, there, and everywhere. Particularly the local scene, and it won't surprise anyone that as these players are kind of, the ones that are going to move on and are moving on at the moment. Liam already has his list of names that he wants to bring in, who Tommy has been watching for months on end, and considers the next kind of gold nugget, as it were.
Yeah.
So it's got to be a circle that works like that.
Yeah, I'm sure Liam won't admit this, but Terry McPhillips has come in, and I don't think we've lost a league game since Terry's come in. He's done marvellously. How do you feel about that, Ian? You must be delighted with what Terry's come in and done.
Well, I mean, as I said, we all knew, we all knew that the team were playing well.
Yeah.
At the start of the season, we could all see the football ability was there. We could all see that the team were gelling, and despite the fact that we weren't winning those first 8 games or so, everyone could see the potential. I think during that whole period of the first 8 or 9 games, I as I tend to do, I spoke to lots of fans, particularly at away games, and I think every single fan bar one were kind of coming up to me saying, "We can see it's coming together."
Yeah.
They could see that we were playing good football. They could see that the spirit was sky high, despite the fact that we weren't winning. It was always going to come. I was saying that. Liam was saying that it was always going to come. That's not to downplay the effect that Terry has had, because I don't think there's ever been any doubt of Terry's ability. I think I've said to you in the past, he was our first choice 4 or 5 years ago, for a reason. And everyone who I spoke to at the time, through my links with Blackpool, then were telling me how good Terry was. Nothing has changed. He gets on great with Liam, and everyone can see the effect it's had on the squad.
Yeah, they do get on well together, don't they? You can see there's certainly a good partnership there.
Yeah, and as I say, you can see the effect it's had on the players.
Yeah.
You can see the kind of the bond that has been built there amongst the squad. It's working well at the moment.
Yeah, I think the one concern that people express to me, friends, and as we go around, is the size of the squad, Ian. It does seem quite small at the moment, and we have been drastically hit with injuries, haven't we? Couldn't have been more unlucky. But some of those key players have got injured, but Liam's worked it brilliantly, hasn't he, to bring people in and do that. But the size of the squad is a little bit of a concern to supporters, Ian. What would you say to that?
Well, again, it's getting that balance, because it's very, very difficult to bring in players who are going to fit into that squad.
Yeah.
You think of the games recently where we maybe haven't been playing our best, but we've snatched that 95th minute winner.
Yeah.
85 minutes on Saturday. That is down to the pure spirit that's in amongst the lads at the moment.
Yeah.
You see it on the coach when we're going to the away games. You can see it after the game. And we've got to be very, very careful to bring in the right type of player to that. Tyler's an example. Tyler has come in. He's fitted in really well. He's a typical Liam player. Ryan had been training with the lads as well, leading up to signing on. So he's fitted in well. But it's essential that we get the right type of players. But we also have to get that balance, because for that spirit to work well in that squad, the players have to always have the belief that they are an important part of that squad.
Yeah.
So for example, if Liam has been talking to Connor about stepping up and seeing how he fits in up front, if we then immediately bring in a replacement for Marcus, what's that saying to Connor?
Right. Yeah.
The same with Tyler. We're saying to Tyler, come in. But by the way, we're going to get a replacement in midfield because we might be, moving Jack into the back to cover any injury to Liam, or the players. There's been a real usage by Liam of rotation and working that squad, and it's something that every single one of them is bought into, and they've bought into it well.
Yeah.
You look at Isaac. Isaac is absolutely kind of 100%, the professional at the moment. He's getting his chances in 15, 20 minutes of the game. and he's making a difference. I think, from memory from Saturday, I think it was Isaac who won back the ball, gave it to Jack, who played it on for Jordan to run on to and finish.
Yeah.
So everyone can see the effect that Isaac is having. And again, it's important that they see that they are getting the chance to do that. But also, we think about the players who we've got to come back. You've got Niall to come back. You've got Josh to come back. My player of the season for the first part of the season was Chris Doyle.
Yeah.
And you've still got Chris to come back along with Liam.
Yeah.
So the squad might not be as big as others in the National League North, but it's a very, very strong squad.
Yeah.
So that's why it's essential that if we are looking at bringing other players in, they have to be the right type of player.
If I know Liam, he's no doubt got a little list of players he would want in an emergency anyhow, hasn't he? He has his notebook and his phone and everything full to bursting.
He has a list of players even when it isn't an emergency. and as I say, it again, it flags up the importance of someone like Tommy, because Liam knows that he can go to Tommy at any point and say, right, I'm looking for a centre forward.
Yeah.
And Tommy will give his 2 or 3 names who he will have been talking to Liam about anyway. Liam will have been to watch them. And they're ready to go at any point.
Yeah.
Just like with Tyler, as soon as we thought that there might be the need there with Niall getting injured, Josh being out, and as I say, there was a few players who are in the team at the moment who there has been interest from, and we've been trying to kind of fight that off.
Yeah.
We knew that someone like Tyler would be needed, and we moved on that very quickly.
Yeah.
And we can do that kind of at any stage.
Yeah, certainly an impressive signing so far, hasn't he? He's been very effective, and like you say, he's a typical Liam player, isn't he?
That's the key. He is a typical Liam player.
Yeah.
And if that means with the squad we've got, we will continue to grind out the results like we have the last couple of weeks, or whether we're going away to Farsley away and winning 4-0.
Yeah.
As long as we're getting those results at the moment, because we know that at any stage, if Liam decides that he needs to bring in replacements, he knows he can.
Yeah.
And he knows that, they will be the right players for Southport.
Great. Well, it's going so great so far on the pitch. Now, not off the pitch, it's still part of it, but we had a bumper gate on Saturday, didn't we? You must have been very pleased to see the response of the public. I know there was no Premier League games, but it was good to see 1,400 in that ground, and the noise they were making behind the Jack car as well. People are really backing the club in that side of things at the moment, aren't they?
Yeah, and we had some conversation about it kind of leading up to the game, because we get ideas thrown towards us, which we'll take all day long, but we get ideas, why don't we allow Everton and Liverpool season ticket holders to come in and only pay a £5 to come in. But our thoughts on that were, it wasn't at all fair to the fans who come week in, week out. So, why should we be letting other fans in for cheap?
Yeah.
We probably won't be there again next week.
Yeah.
So instead, we thought, well, why don't we just kind of go out and sing the praises of what we're doing?
Yeah.
Why don't we make sure everyone knows in the locality how well we are going? And let's just try and attract fans to come and watch a good game of football.
Yeah.
When maybe their own team isn't playing.
Yeah.
And if that means that they come back and more keep coming back, because I've seen lots of positive responses on social media.
Very much, yeah. There's been some great feedback today from various sources, yeah.
Yeah, and if we can keep doing that and plugging away at that, then all the better. And obviously, winning games helps. It's always helped. We've been here before when we've, done things off the pitch to try and attract lots of fans, sorry. We've attracted lots of fans and then been let down on the day when we lose 3-1.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everything went right last week. We attracted the fans in. We won the game. and we've got all the contract extensions to boot. So
yeah, it was a good week, wasn't it, overall? And to get the win at the end of it topped it off, didn't it?
It was a busy week.
Not half, yeah.
It was definitely a busy week. But again, I don't think, and Liam will probably agree, we've never been in such a situation where, we start to talk contract extensions with the players, and they are all so eager to stay. Every single one of them wanted to stay. They all kind of wanted to get that contract done. And that's that, we can't ask for any more than that.
Yeah. The bumper crowd did present a few little problems with the catering, didn't it? I know every interview we've ever done since day one, catering or toilets have always been our topics, haven't they? So I'm not going to let you go, but he did present a few little issues. There were quite a few queues and lengthy waits. So that's something we might need to have a look at going forward.
But it's something that we've been looking at consistently, to be fair, since coming out of lockdown.
Yeah.
Because you and I have probably spoken before about where we were at before lockdown.
Yeah.
And how we were trying to, or we had a plan to look at different caterers, and just try and find, something that attracted the fans, and something the fans were happy with. We've tried the hog roasts, which then get complaints, and it's all about trying to find what works, and that there's no overnight success. This is all about making sure we find good quality caterers who can deal with the demands, but also how we can adapt Hague Avenue on an ongoing basis to cope with that. And we are working with the caterers that we've got at both ends at the moment to try and come up with the solutions. We added the bottle bar on Saturday to try and alleviate the drinks queues a bit, and that's something that we're looking at and trying to look at, how we can improve that on a weekly basis. Claire and I were both down at the Jack Car for half an hour or so from 2:00 onwards, just to try and see ourselves, what we can do and come up with some ideas. And I know Claire particularly has been talking all day today with caterers and anyone we can to try and improve the situation week in, week out. And that's what we will keep doing, until we get it right.
It's a nice problem to have, though, isn't it? We've got more people in, so, nobody can complain at that.
It is a nice problem to have, but at the same time, if we are constantly working to make it better, then hopefully we will get to a point where, people aren't complaining about food or queues or whether the music's too loud or what type of music we play or anything else that we can think of.
Well, there'll always be something.
We can't complain about what's going on the pitch. I will take that all day long, to be honest.
I'm just glad to get away from the toilets issue, Ian. I think we've got a run of games coming up, haven't we? I've been having my record books out today to see how many we need to break records and all that, which is absolutely fatal because something will happen. But we have got a very tough run of Tuesday, Saturday. I think it's 6 on the run now, haven't we? Difficult time for the club for Liam and the squad, but we've seen how resilient they are. I'm sure he'll relish it, Liam and the lads, won't they?
I think enjoy is probably a better word than relish, because they are enjoying it at the moment. And again, we have to kind of take everything in comparison to where we were in October when we were bottom of the league, trying to get out of that run of games. We're now in a run of games where we've lost none. We've won. I think we're 14 or 15 unbeaten, aren't we?
Yeah, 14 in the league. Yeah.
So we will take those problems all day long. And again, every game that we go into, the lads are bouncing. They are absolutely bouncing. They're looking forward to it. And you can see it's an old football cliche, isn't it? Winning is a habit and losing is a habit, and it's a difficult habit to get out of when you're in one or the other. They are thoroughly enjoying it, and I think you could see as well when guys equalised on Saturday, there was no dropping of the heads. There was no kind of finger pointing, and it was a case of, right, let's crack on. Let's get on with it and get back to where we should be.
It was a difficult afternoon as well with the weather, wasn't it? And I think when they did the post-match with Liam, he was very honest. We didn't play well, but we ground out that result again. And that keeps happening, doesn't it?
Well, Bradford's the best example of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
They kept going until 98 minutes, was it?
Yeah.
And it's almost the perfect victory, isn't it, to come away with a 1-0.
Nice when it happens to you, isn't it?
Well, exactly, because we've been on the wrong end of that too many times in the last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
And again, things like that all add to the general feeling of well-being and that's around the club at the moment.
Yeah.
And if we keep that going.
Yeah, it's a happy place, isn't it? An old cliche there. It's Southport Football Club is a happy place at the moment. And even some of the older guys that sit in front of me that used to be a little bit, nothing's ever right. They've turned in, and so I think we're winning them over.
But I mean, as you say, I learned from day one, there will always be a complaint. There will always be complaints from somewhere, and people aren't happy unless they are complaining. And as a club, all we can do is appreciate kind of what we're doing right. It is a happy place across the board. I think I would like to think that the volunteers are all enjoying coming to the club, and it's a happy place for the volunteers to be. Because otherwise they wouldn't be volunteering.
No.
Same with the staff. Everyone involved. It does seem to be a happy place, and that has its effect on the players, because obviously they're turning up from 1 o'clock onwards. They're having a laugh and a joke with everyone around. It all adds to the bounce about the place for them. When we win, and as we are each week. It's felt across the board. Everyone feels like they are part of the club.
Yeah.
And obviously a massive factor in that is the fans as well.
Yeah.
And everyone can see the bond between players and fans, which hasn't been there in the past. I probably, through fear of repetition, I've probably said to you in the past as well that, I can remember times in the past when players have been walking to and from the ground and are not recognised by the fans.
Yeah.
Whereas now we're in a situation where, you can see at the end of each game the appreciation that the players have for the fans have for the players. I see the odd comment going back to complaints about names on shirts.
Oh, don't.
You would be hard pressed now, I think, to find Southport fans going to the game who don't recognise, at least the starting 11, and probably the subs as well.
Yeah.
That's nothing to do with the names on shirts, because that was purely to do with the fact that we've got a sponsor's name on the back as from the start of the season.
Yeah.
But as I say, I think that the players have ingratiated themselves with the fans, and it makes for a happy place.
Yeah. And the wins, don't they? When we're not getting beaten, and even though we're playing well at the start of the season, but these wins and not getting beaten in certain games is making a difference. I think the good thing, though, when we lost the game to Solihull Moors, the players still went over to the fans, and there was still a level of appreciation, wasn't there? Because it would have been easy to turn, oh, you're not this, you're not that, but the players did respond well to that, didn't they?
We could all say that it wasn't our best game.
No.
I think Andrew Dallas had a fantastic game.
It certainly boosted his confidence since, hasn't it?
Well, he's a level above.
Yeah.
And the difference between the two sides, in the main, was how clinical he was.
Yes.
Taking his chances. Yeah. But again, the energy was there. There was no fault in the effort put in. On another day, it might have been a closer game. but it's good because there was that appreciation still at the end of that game. And also, each of those players and Liam and Terry all came away knowing, well, actually, if we'd have done this or if we'd have done that, who knows? Yeah. Certainly there was kind of no fear in relation to should we get promoted.
No.
No. So, we have to take the positives from that.
Good. Well, I think we've covered everything. Is there anything I've missed that you want to add or say to us, or have we got everything in?
No, as I say, I think it has been a busy couple of weeks. I think, we have put full faith in Liam and particularly Tommy in relation to kind of the bringing in the right players. And now it's become our job, Liam and I, to make sure we keep those players that we've got. We've done a huge chunk of that. We haven't finished yet, but we have done a huge chunk of it. And it's great that, the fans, they have put that trust in what we're doing, because it wasn't easy for the first 8 games.
No.
But, we always had a plan of where we wanted to be and how we would get there. And, we're doing that on probably a third of the budget of a lot of the clubs who are up there and around us. And that isn't because, the club have got no money or what other comments that we've seen on social media about we're struggling for cash or we haven't got any money. We're doing it because we think that's the sensible way to do it. We think it's a sensible way whereby we can attract the right type of players with the right type of hunger to play and move up, and with a squad size that we think keeps that squad spirit together. Because if you look at the teams who have spent a lot more money than us, they probably have more than a handful of players who are kind of 31, 32, who are probably getting paid far more than they should be each week, which is sensible neither for the club itself as a environment to be in, and certainly not for the finances of that club.
Yeah.
And we think we're doing it in a sensible way, which the club can maintain. And we've said from day one again that this is all about not just about the team and the finances, but sustainability as a whole. That's always where we wanted to be. That's where we are at the moment. And we're not worse off for doing it that way.
No.
So, we have kind of relied upon the trust and faith of everyone else at the club and fans. And, it's working at the moment.
Yeah. We'll just go back to where we started, and I think we'd all like to wish Doug well, won't we? I know he's with us till the end of the season, so we'll get plenty of opportunities to wish him well. And great move for him, great business for the club, and I think it's great to see.
Yeah, and as we said at the start, Doug he has got the ability to go all the way.
Yeah.
And I think Liam said that from the first moment we saw him play. Mm-hmm. And he said that to everyone who listened since.
Yeah.
And again, he's been proven right.
Yeah.
And I've got absolutely no doubt that, we will see Doug rise and rise. And, he will have a sparkling career ahead of him.
Yeah, as we do with all the players that move on, we always follow the progress. And seeing Dion over the weekend, the 3 goals he scored for Bolton in the last couple of weeks, it's been tremendous, hasn't it, to see that he has made that step up.
We particularly like to follow their progress when we've got nice sell-on clauses.
Oh, we don't go into that one, Ian. It owes a whole can of worms. But
yeah, well.
Brilliant. Thanks for your time tonight, Ian.
No problem.
Thank you.